Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Javier with the Real Javier Novoa channel, a platform, and a modality where we strive to apply the principles of interiorism to living free. And we're going to be continuing in the series on practical interiorism. In the last video in this series, I described to you the principle that secret societies don't want you to know. And that is basically knowing the difference between inner and outer intention, as Vadim Zeland calls it, and knowing the very easy technique of getting into alpha waves or a state of alpha and then creating from outer intention instead of inner intention. And I would go back and watch that video for a brief explanation on that. You see, in this series, and indeed on this channel, we don't simply want to talk anymore just about the theory. Although the theory is very important, it's very easy to digest, but the main aspect is practicing it. Because the principles are simple, but it's only by actually practicing them and working with them within yourself and in your environment that you're actually going to learn how you can implement them. And that, I think, is a very key topic in interiorism that I think we need to discuss more. You see, I can't make a one-size-fits-all instruction manual for interiorism, although I'm in the process of making an instruction manual, and we will tell you when and where you can buy that book. It's going to be a book, basically, a toolkit and an explanation of interiorism. I am working on that, but I cannot write an instruction manual that's going to work in every specific aspect of your life because interiorism is very personal. Everybody will have a different way of approaching it, and while the principles are universal and practicable by everybody, everyone will have to find his or her own approach to those principles. But today I just want to discuss how we're going to go forward in this series of practical interiorism. Because in this series that's going forward over the next few weeks, I'm aiming to create a toolkit for you to actually be able to generate massive progress in your life. As one book called it, quantum leaping. And of course, Abraham Hicks doesn't like that term, but you can quantum leap by going to another film role. You can see very massive and very quick changes in your life if you follow these principles and if you learn how to work with the principles. What we're basically aiming to do in this series is to make interiorism a strategy of personal management, a toolkit of personal management, and a toolkit whereby you can actually implement these principles and experiment with them and actually get concrete data on how it's working for you. And then you can tweak your application of the principles according to the data. I've said since the early days of this channel that this is a very scientific methodology. This is a very empirical methodology. You need to measure results, actually. Of course, we tell you when to do that, by the way, which means that if you measure results too frequently, like if you meditate and you visualize your scene and you get into state, and then you open your eyes and 10 minutes later you say, well, where's my desire? That's not a scientific way of approaching it. You need to actually have meaningful lengths of time where you will put those milestones in, and then where you will check those milestones. We'll be telling you how to actually do that, how to actually step-by-step set up your experiments. Because I've been doing experiments, guys, and I've gotten massive and amazing results, and actually I've been putting in specific aspects of these experiments, and then I've been manipulating my approach and my implementation. So in some experiments, I'll intentionally not implement a piece of it, and I'll see how that affects the outcome. You understand. And as the videos go on, I'll be telling you how to do this. But I just wanted to explain the general methodology that we're going to use of making interiorism into an actual life management strategy that's actually going to get you concrete results. There are many great channels on YouTube about law of assumption, law of attraction, what we call interiorism. But a lot of these guys do not give you actual concrete steps and a roadmap and a scientific methodology that you can apply, nor do they give you specific results. They just talk in generalities. A lot of these guys will give you these in courses that they're going to sell, and I could probably sell a course, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you here all for free. I'm going to put it all on the table here in this series. And the main principle that we're going to be talking about in this video, and it's going to be something that you've heard elsewhere, but I don't think you've heard it in quite the way that we're going to explain it to you here today, and that is the principle of leverage. It's also known as the principle of least effort, and this is by no means a mystical principle. You see this throughout all nature. Many people call it the process of least resistance, or the path of least resistance. Nature always follows the path of least resistance. You can observe it in water flow. You can observe it in electrical currents. Everything goes the quickest way to its destination with the least resistance possible. Of course, the more resistance that's introduced to an equation, of course, that separates the results from you in space and in time. And this is very commonsensical, very easy to understand. I don't think that you would have an argument with me here, even those of you empirical and scientific types. In fact, I think a lot of you are going to benefit from this video. But the principle of least effort, the principle of least resistance, we see this in economics and business. Of course, the journalist and economist Wilfredo Pareto first enunciated this principle in his works in the 19th century, and he started by observing gardens. And his observation was this: in nature, and even in social and human dynamics, in everything, 20% of the efforts gets 80% of the results, and 80% of the effort gets 20% of the results. And I've been in business, I've been in consulting for many years, I've consulted with many business owners, many managers, and it's always been down to the same. What we have to do, especially in the beginning, is get down to the nitty-gritty and have them sit down and say, okay, I want you to write down all of your business processes. And then I want you to pick the top 2 or the top 3 that get the most results, and then the rest that get the least results. And of course, I then want you to pour more resources into those 1, 2, or 3 aspects that get the most results. Almost invariably, that takes care of about 70 to 80% of the bottlenecks and the hang-ups of that business. Very simple. But you see, our society's been educated to think that, no, you have to work harder and work more. So the first answer to any problem is work harder and work more and make more effort and go put in more hours. But as Stephen Covey said, you may be climbing a great ladder, a very high ladder, only to figure out that it was against the wrong wall. I hope you understand me. So you want to make effort, but you want to concentrate those efforts. Now, for those who studied the secret societies, and for those who know spirituality, and for those who have even gone within themselves, we realize that we can take this even a level above the business model of the Pareto principle, because of course, and we're going to discuss this more, how to increase your business in other videos, how to actually apply this in your life and your relationships. But we can even go to the principle of no effort. That's right. In fact, you have to go to the principle of no effort. Now, a lot of these, even law of assumption, law of attraction, even if you read the books of the greats, like Vadim Zeland in Reality Transurfing, he says, no, you always have to take the next step. And that's true, but this is true only in concession to the fact that you're still trying to get from where you are to where you want to be. And as we said in the last video, that's on a level. That's on the level where you're actually living in a film roll and you're trying to now, by your effort, get on another film roll. But there's an even deeper level. And this is the level that we're trying to instill in you through this channel, through these videos. And in fact, you can use this immediately as a management tool. And that's the level of already knowing who you are. And that automatically will translate to all the other levels. And I want to make this very concrete for you. So, say that you're having an issue in your business and that you're not making any sales. Well, you can go sit down and journal, right? And you can say, what is it about the product that's wrong? Or should we be offering another product? And then you could go and try to figure out another product. Then you can test that. And that's actually better than a lot of people are doing, and it will get results, because what most people are doing is saying, oh my God, we're not making sales, so we need to, have you work more hours and try to knock on more doors, make more phone calls. And if that doesn't work, okay, we need to lay people off. And then we need to bring in a consultant, and hopefully any consultant worth his salt will sit down and tell you, okay, let's look and actually see, are the processes even right-headed, or are they wrong-headed? Are they going to even lead to the conclusion that we're trying to go to? Most managers can't even think that far. But for those of you who are able to think that far, hurrah! So you're sitting down, you're tweaking your processes. But there's a step above that. And the principle is this, guys, and it really works. I promise you it works. I have experiments that I'm going to share with you that are empirical in my life and my business that have shown without a doubt that this works. But you have to let go. And that's the process of, first of all, being in the highest dimension and knowing I am actually the divine. I am above all this. I am the observer. And I am not in a film roll. The film roll is in me, and all film rolls are in me, and all potentialities are in me. And then you go into that silence. And it's as the great spiritual teacher from the United States, Joel Goldsmith, said, when things get hard, that's not the time to start working harder. It's not even the time to stop thinking harder. And I prefer you to think harder than work harder, because again, one thought is going to be enough to compensate for 1,000 actions. But you must even go further than this, and this is what Interiorism teaches you. How do you do that? What do you do? As Joel Goldsmith said, you relax. You get into alpha. And I have another secret for you. The secret is you don't even have to get into alpha, because alpha also is on that process. So in the last video, we said get into alpha waves. That's for the students. It's a hell of a lot better than these beta waves. It's a hell of a lot better than being in what the secret societies call poverty brain waves, being in alpha. But you don't even have to do that. All you have to do is have an instantaneous recognition, so to speak, of who you are. I am the divine. And pause. And you'll almost immediately go into alpha. Now, taking a few deep breaths, being present, that all helps. But that's going to follow as a consequence. Then when you pause, you're going to get, sooner or later, an inspired idea. And it may not even be during that meditation or pause. You may pause and say, like, for example, take the example that we're using of a person who's not getting sales. You may pause and say, it seems that I'm not getting sales, but I know that I am everything that I need, and I am all wealth, I am all prosperity, I am it, and within me now is a timeline where not only am I getting all the sales, I'm getting everything that I need in the moment that I need it. And as Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem on the same level of thought that created it. Why is this? Because you may not be getting sales, but the issue may not be in sales. The issue may be in something totally different. And the universe, which is the higher you and the divine you, which you are tapping into when you recognize that, and when you get into alpha waves, knows what actually has to happen. So when you're in that recognition, you know what? I am the divine, and everything that I declare happens Now you're not thinking about sales. You've handed that over to the higher mind, to the divine mind. And either now or later, you're going to get inspired to what really needs to happen. And it's not necessarily going to be related to what you think needs to happen. So, what's the management strategy here? Oh, and so what happens here? When you hit that knowledge and that recognition that everything is within me and I am the divine, your body will immediately or eventually go into alpha. And then that alpha will carry down into all levels. So then the situation on the outer will start to change, whether you perceive it in that moment or not. You will receive impulses and inspiration for right actions that you couldn't have planned. And everything on every level, whether that's the divine level, whether that's personality, whether that is knowing, whether that is thought, and then finally actions, will fall into line automatically. You can tweak it at any level of the diagram. We talked about this very early in the channel. You can take other actions. Those aren't always going to be right, and sometimes they cause more problems, but sometimes it can help, especially if you're in a rut. Just take an action. You can think right thoughts. You can think positively. Sometimes that'll work. Sometimes that'll blow up in your face because you're trying to think against thoughts and feelings that are within you that are then going to repel that and create more resistance. We're going to talk about this a lot more in videos to come. You can get into alpha, and that's beautiful, but it might take a while, especially if you're nervous. You're going to have to do the breathing. You can get there. But the best and easiest way to do this, guys, is to control the top lever. Get into that divine space. Simply know I am the divine. And whatever thoughts and feelings are happening, that doesn't matter. The little secret. Your thoughts and feelings don't matter. They will change once you reconnect with that divine spark within you and get into that level. So, how do we use this as a management tool? Well, you know everything is already solved once you go within and become the divine. In fact, you can know this without even doing anything, without even pausing. You just remember, hey, I'm part of the divine, and all of this is working out towards my good. And then you don't do anything until you're inspired to do something. You will be inspired to do something soon. But until then, you just follow the script. And that's the great secret about this. On the outside, we just continue following the script. We continue working. Excuse me. We continue doing the tasks that are expected of us. We even continue thinking within our business. Okay, how can I cut costs here? What can I do? But while we do that, we're living in that divine aspect of ourselves. And eventually is going to come a prompting. Say, hey, go to this place and meet this person for coffee. Hey, go over here. Hey, here's a way to think about this. Here's another way to think about the sales that could transform it. Oh, or here's another product that we might be able to launch. But you do that, as Bashar says, with no insistence on the outcome. We expect a great outcome, but we don't have any insistence on the outcome. So you're following the script. You're floating along with the river. You're not resisting. You're surrendering. And you're knowing at the same time that you are the divine and that you are not working to have it fixed. It is fixed. And I promise you, if you do that, you will have measurable results very soon. You can even time it. As you get better, you can put deadlines on it. But if that deadline shakes you up, I'd recommend not doing that. This is the way to do this, guys. Within, you simply go to that existence and that being that you know you are, that you're not seeing. And then without, you simply follow that script. You don't tell anyone about it. Joel Goldsmith also said that we learn to talk to the people the way they understand. So you're not going to go to work and say, or your business and say, hey, I tuned in with the divine, and now I know an answer is coming to me. They're not going to understand. So you tell them, hey, I'm working on this. I'm thinking hard about this, and I'm trying to solve this problem. The way they understand is that you're going and you're trying to do it by yourself. But the way you understand it, yeah, you're trying to solve the problem by becoming the divine and then releasing all effort. That's the way you do it, guys. This is practical interiorism, and it can be used as a management tool. So thank you so much for watching. We're continuing with this series on practical interiorism. We're going to teach you how to live free this year, guys. Live free, which means not being beholden to a boss, not being beholden to a job, not being beholden to a location. Living as a lord and a lady by implementing and living these principles as life management principles. So thank you so much for watching. If you find value in our videos, please do subscribe to the channel, like the videos, help us get this message out. And we will be releasing a lot more videos in the coming days and weeks. So until very soon, this is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, bidding you a wonderful beginning of the week.